Guys, I can't believe it. After over a year, we're finally here. This is it, the last Hellraiser review. I've already done Judgment. This is crazy. Oh, hey Pinhead, how you doing, buddy? I didn't even notice Pinhead was back there. I guess he's here to celebrate too. This is gonna be really cool.
You think this is the end, Drumdums, but you are sorely mistaken. Dimension Films, they're not done with the Hellraiser franchise just yet. I'm going to make sure your suffering continues for 5 more movies.
Fuck! Hellraiser Revelations stars Nick Eversman, Jay Gillespie, and is directed by Victor Garcia. Hellraiser Revelations is a really shitty movie. Let's get that out of the way. None of you are surprised. I guarantee you that. I started this review series well over a year ago. I didn't realize how many of these movies there were. I think there's 10, 11 of these movies, something like that. But I can't believe we're finally here. Hellraiser Revelations. This is just completely insane. And after this review, I'm going to finally do a ranking video for the series, which is going to be a lot of fun. But the problem with that is that there's like 5 of these movies that feel like the same type of crap. So it's going to be tough too. But if you click on this card right here, you can check out all my Hellraiser reviews. And yeah, have a great time. It is fun reviewing bad movies though. I will say that. Because you get to be a little creative, I guess. The Crow Wicked Prayer is a great example. I had a great time reviewing that one. Didn't even expect to enjoy reviewing it. But yeah, it's a really shitty movie. But at the beginning of Hellraiser Revelations, you got these 2 guys, Nico and Stephan. They're friends and they are leaving LA and they're going to Mexico. They're douchebags. They want to, get drunk. They want to get laid. Nico is the boyfriend to Stephan's sister, Emma. Right off the bat, we don't give a shit about these characters. So once they get into Mexico, Nico hooks up with this girl in this bar and he accidentally kills her. And so eventually they end up back at the club. They're freaking out. And then this like homeless looking guy comes up and offers them the box to take them a step farther than just sex. This is like pain and pleasure. The whole lament configuration gig. But of course, Nico opens the box. Pinhead comes out, does his Pinhead thing, and then eventually uses Stephan to try to break out of hell. This kind of jumps between 2 timelines because they show what happened with Nico and Stephan, but also they show the present day. So I'm guessing that the events that happened with those guys in Mexico happened quite a few months, maybe a year before or something like that. So you got this family, it's Stephan's family, and they're having like this get together with some family of Nico. And, they don't really want to discuss what happened. But Stephan's family, they have this video tape that Nico and Stephan used while they were on their vacation. And they've kind of given up hope. They don't know what the hell's happened to them. Who gives a shit? That's the problem with this movie. You don't care about anything. It's like painful to just focus on what is going on. That's the problem with this movie, because you don't give a shit about any of the characters in this movie at all. And I've already jumped the gun. I think I started in the middle of my plot synopsis. That's when you know a movie's bad, is when you can't even like get through the plot synopsis without getting pissed off. That's Revelations. Now, the backstory on this movie, this was written by Gary Tunnicliffe. I have to give props to Gary Tunnicliffe because he wrote this debacle, but then, he did better. He dusted himself off and he ended up writing Hellraiser Judgment. And he directed that one too, and that one's actually a decent movie. Finally, they made a good or halfway decent Hellraiser movie. It's not great or anything, but compared to this, it's like the first Hellraiser. There's a lot going on. There's some interesting stuff, interesting characters, but this one is just completely forgettable. And part of it is just the production. It feels like they just finished up shooting like a porn movie, and they said, hey, let's leave the lighting up and the sound and all that, and let's just go ahead and film a Hellraiser movie. That's what it feels like. It almost feels like a soap opera set, especially in the dinner party scenes. And right away, that's gonna put a check mark in your negatives for a movie like this. You know what I'm talking about. When you watch a B movie versus like a well-produced movie, it just feels cheap, And this movie was filmed pretty cheap. It was filmed in like 3 weeks, all said and done. You know, and the only reason this movie was made is because Dimension wanted to hold on to the rights to the Hellraiser franchise. Clive Barker pretty much disowned this movie. He said, get that thing away from me. That is not any part of my creation whatsoever. Which ironically is interesting because the last like 5 Hellraiser movies were other scripts that were turned into a Hellraiser movie. So I guess to Gary Tunnicliffe's credit, this was actually meant to be a Hellraiser movie from the get-go. Doug Bradley was actually asked to come back and do this movie. He was gonna do it, but they really wanted to pay him, his words, the price of a refrigerator almost. I mean, just almost nothing. It reminds me of the Danielle Harris debacle with Halloween 6. But this does borrow some plot elements from the first movie. You do have Nico trying to use his buddy Stephan to become human again, much like Frank used I forget her name, the female in the first movie. It's been a while since I've seen the first Hellraiser. Also, let's talk about Pinhead. Stephan Smith Collins actually played Pinhead this go around because Doug Bradley did not come back. And this is a discount Pinhead. It really is. This guy just doesn't have the presence that Doug Bradley had. And you know, I'm not one of those guys that says Doug Bradley is the only guy to play Pinhead, even though he probably is. The guy that played him in Judgment was pretty suitable, actually. This guy, not so much. Did not buy him at all. He just didn't feel like Pinhead. I didn't get that really creepy, eerie vibe from him. And sometimes it's just a superficial thing. I just don't like his face. His face doesn't really feel like Pinhead. I mean, that is a part of the package. Pinhead is the most visual horror icon out of all of them. So you want to have a good face for Pinhead, as shallow as that sounds. Now, I will say the actors in this movie, they did the best they could. You know, this is a low budget movie. If I hate a movie, I'm not gonna, you know, hate on everything. You could tell that there was some talent in there for the roles that they had, but, you know, the characters they were playing were just not interesting, just not likable at all. So, by the time you get to that third act, you just don't really care. You don't care about anything that's going on. You just really want this movie to end. So for that, I'm definitely giving this movie a low 2 hours lost. It almost gets a looped in hell. It's really, really bad. There are some really good makeup effects in there, led by Gary Tunnicliffe. You know, I'm not gonna completely bash it. I can tell that Gary Tunnicliffe does love this franchise. He's been with the franchise for a long time. So, you know, there is some really striking makeup effects in this movie if I have to give it some positives. But everything else around that is just crap to me, just pure crap. It's a discount Hellraiser movie. It's one that I will probably never watch again. So anyway, guys, that's it. We finished up the Hellraiser franchise. Woohoo! It's a good feeling. What are your thoughts on Revelations? If any of you like this movie, let me know in the comments. I mean, if you didn't like it, let me know too, but I'm really curious to see if any of you did. And I'm not gonna judge you. You know, you might like this movie, and that's awesome. Also, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free Fall Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Stardust. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.